So I picked up a Mazda 626 1991 model to use as a temporary get around while I fixed up the blown turbo that's on the BMW, so just waiting on that part to turn up. But to get it roadworthy, one of the issues it had was no reverse lights. In this case, both were gone. So if that's the case, there's not a lot of things it can be. Obviously the globes, but having both of them gone, it's probably unlikely to be the globes. Some of the other options it can be is there's a wiring issue, or there's a selector switch, because it's an automatic, there's a selector switch on the gearbox. That could be the issue. Now, one way you can eliminate the globes as an issue, or pretty much eliminate them, is through the selector. So if there's something wrong with the wiring in the front half of the car, so the engine bay, or the actual selector switch on the gearbox that's stopping the power, you'll find that when you go through the selector, which is what I'm doing here, there's reverse, neutral, doesn't come up, but then drive. So in this case you can see the reverse. When I had the issue, it's repaired now, but the reverse light wouldn't come on. So I'll show you the wiring diagram in a moment for the car, but if the reverse light doesn't come on and your rear tail lights don't come on, rear reverse lights don't come on, then it's going to be a wiring issue at the front half of the car, or it's going to be the selector switch on the gearbox, which I'll also show in the wiring diagram for the car. There is no fuse in this link, so it's not a fuse issue because there is no fuse. It goes through the fuse box, but there's no actual fuse involved in it. So if you've got both lights out on the back and you don't get the R when you go into the reverse option of your selector, it's going to be that problem. If you do have the reverse light come up, then it's actually possibly a good chance it's a wiring in the back, or both your globes are gone. So I found this wiring diagram. It's got lots of pages. It's very helpful if you're trying to fault find through the car for wiring. But see here, this is the inhibitor. They call it inhibitor switch. It's basically the selector switch on top of the automatic gearbox. There's your reverse point. Comes out on a red wire, green line. And as it feeds out, it'll split somewhere to the instrument cluster directly. And the other point where it splits continues on to fuse block. So I'll just go to the fuse block diagram now, which is on 1L. So this is the wire from the inhibitor switch, or the selector switch on the automatic, red wire, green line. This is if you have a manual. That's the switch that typically sits on the gearbox when you put it into reverse with a manual, and it connects to the same point. Then from there it goes through the fuse block, up and across to point 1. So we'll go to the other half of this diagram. Comes in line 1, straight across, still in the fuse box area. This is inside the car, all the way down. Down, across, out M there, and then to your tail lights. So no fuse involved at all. Still on a red wire, green line. So in my case, there was no fuse involved. It wasn't the rear lights. I checked the globes anyway, but I was also missing the R symbol on the dash as well. So my first and main concern was that it was going to be the inhibitor, what they call inhibitor switch, or the selector switch on the gearbox. But anyway, I thought I'd do some wire checking just in case. So you've got your main automatic transmission switch here, which has the switching for all your positions, pretty much park, reverse, first, second, third. So from there, there's this wiring here, this white one runs out, has all that wiring from this switch, as you can see around the back there. Okay, so I followed that around to get past this stuff. This connector here, this one here. There's a wire here, a red wire with a green line, that is the reverse line. I checked the power on this side and it actually had power when in reverse. Check the other side of the connector, no power. So the connector was obviously old and corroded. So pull the connector apart by pushing in this part here, and then that just comes apart really easy. You push that in, it allows you to remove that. And just clean up, a bit of sandpaper, a bit of contact cleaner, put it back together, and the reverse lights are working. If you just want to check a globe, it's the same on both sides. Got this bit of carpet here, it's got Velcro, and a little part is lift up, a little hook. It's your unit. And you pretty much just squeeze these two white parts here, the whole thing comes out. And you can get your globes. Standard globe which that will be the reverse one there. Just hard one hand, but push in and twist. You can test your globe. And put it back in, just wedge it in that way first to make sure it's all the way in. Going that way, make sure it's fully in and lined up, and then it just pops back in. Once everything's lined up properly, it clicks pretty easily. That's it. Okay, and then that just goes back over, and the hook goes over. Simple.